President, Academic, and Dean here at Renison University College. Wendy Fletcher, our President and Vice Chancellor, was unable to be here. She was here momentarily, but as we started a little bit later, she had to slip out to another commitment. So I'm standing in her place to welcome all of you. And I'll just begin by thanking our wonderful musicians that have filled our soul with music, and they are known as T for 3. So thank you so much for your music. Much appreciated. To begin with, I would like to present a land acknowledgement of the space that we're in, the land that we are on. We are on the lands of the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the traditional neutral people. And we are on these lands that were promised to the Indigenous people on 6 miles or 10 kilometers on either side of the Grand River from mouth to source. So these are the lands that we're on, and so privileged to be here to work and live and play. When I think about land acknowledgement, some of the teachings that have been given to me is to make that personal connection to the land. You know, what does this land mean to me, and who am I on these lands? I am the daughter of immigrants to these lands from Finland and Spain, and I was born in Kitchener, what is known as Kitchener. So I'm part of the historical piece here, but I'm also part of the colonial history as well, and acknowledging that in the time of my parents' immigration to these lands, their immigration was facilitated through very racist immigration policies that were open to white Europeans in the day. And so I recognize that, and the work that I do is to help reconcile some of those historical errors. When I also think about the land that we're on, I think about the beauty, I think about the nature particularly that we're here at Renison. And as we're emerging from this lockdown, multiple lockdowns and pandemics, and when I first started here at Renison back in January 2022, and I would sit in my office, there was always a red fox that came to visit me. The red fox came, and I would say hello, and I would think of the Little Prince and taming the red fox and such. And now that we're all sort of back and running around on these lands, the fox has disappeared. I don't see the fox anymore. And so just thinking about our relationship with nature and how we connect with the animals and the homes that they're on as well. So those are just some of my reflections about these lands. So coming back to the land acknowledgement, I do give thanks for these lands and honoring the original peoples of these lands and giving thanks to that end. When I was speaking with Wendy about some of what she was thinking about her remarks coming to this space, she was, and I know that I'm not going to be as eloquent as Wendy brings, but I'll try and bring her message that I got out of her teaching to me. So when we're thinking about land, there's the land that we see, and then there's the soil. And so when we think about the relationship with our with Indigenous ancestors, we think about this soil, and as we build on programs, civilizations, it's about building on historical pasts. So there's one civilization and then another civilization building and building and building. And so she was connecting to, at the time of the two-row wampum belt, and when the Dutch came to these spaces, and that two-row wampum belt was created, so 2 rows, and each respecting each other, each respecting the laneways that we're in, so allowing each group to live as they are. And we're thinking about this colonial nature and the soil, and the question that Wendy posed was, do we have to build on something that is currently existing, or do we need to dig deeper into the soil to find the soil that was part of that original two-row wampum belt, and then build upward from there. And so that's just that reflection that I connect from what she was talking about we need to dig deeper when we're thinking about equity, diversity, inclusion, decolonization. And let's dig deeper to find that soil that was originally part of the agreement of the two-row wampum belt as we connect to these lands and as we connect to each other and as we build our futures. So I'll conclude there. Welcome everyone to this beautiful celebration. I'm so happy to see you all here. And I will pass it to you, Trish, and you will continue with our programming. Thank you.
So, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, Dr. Naila Kaleta-May and I shared a public conversation about a brilliant woman from Baltimore. Her name is Tide Courtney Edwards. This is a woman who unapologetically takes and makes space in the name of empowered, community-immersed healing. Something that you said in that conversation has stayed with me, Naila. You said something about meals that are served at large dining room tables where there could exist a particular logic for cruelty that created differentiated humanities. And you also talked about ancestors feeding communities of strength and integrity and resistance and uprising, as well as the refusals to settle for scraps. Thank you for that teaching. Dr. Kaleta-May uses her art, her words, a deep intelligence, and a rich voice to call for community. Her U Waterloo TED Talk became the beginning place for our incoming MSW class conversations about community building this past summer, with her invitation for communities to hold vulnerabilities and to cherish exposure that comes with truth-telling. Dr. Kaleta-May is the principal investigator of the Black and Free Research Creation Project, which we're going to learn more about today. She also is a Dorothy Killam Fellow, the Tier 2 SSHRC Canada Research Chair in Race, Gender, and Performance, as well as an accomplished multidisciplinary artist and an associate professor in the Department of Communication Arts. We are thrilled that you're here today to speak to us about your commitment to practice that centers community and connection. Welcome, Naila.
Feels so nice to be here with you. It's so nice. Sing. So nice. We have gathered around the fire again. So nice. So nice. Hearts open to feel and heal. So nice. So nice. We are alive. So nice. So nice. So nice. Such an honor to share this space with you. Ask the spirits to guide us the whole way through. May our past and futures collide in this place. Carry us all in a warm embrace. It feels so nice to be here with you. It's so nice. So nice. We have gathered around the fire again. So nice. So nice. Hearts open to feel and heal. So nice. So nice. We are alive. So nice. So nice. So nice. So nice. Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thank you so much, Trish, for inviting me and your your warm invitation to participate in this celebration. Congratulations on 10 years. It is an accomplishment and one that I trust everyone is feeling quite proud and pleased of and about. And I wish you well in the future, right? That there will be more celebrations of ongoing years of work and of thinking about how to teach around this very important topic and this importance of social work in our lives. So thank you for the paths that you've chosen as well and the ways in which you're serving communities and people as a result of that choice. So my name is Dr. Nayula Kalita May, and I hope that you're seeing there, Black and Free. I trust that you are. Oh, you are not. Just joking. I'm not sure what I need to do on this end to make that possible. Oh, it looks like it's showing for me.
We've got Greg.
Thank you, Greg. Greg to the rescue.
Flip down. Reset.
There we go.
Okay. This is a magic wand. Thank you, Greg. So today I will be talking to you about Black and Free, which is a research creation project that I started officially in 2017. And it came out of a decision to spend the rest of my academic and artistic career and life focused on Blackness and freedom. I have long studied Black studies, but the focus has not always been specifically freedom. So it was in 2017 that I said, I'm thinking about freedom, because so often when you're doing Black studies, it becomes about responses to anti-Blackness. And so I wanted my focus to be on freedom, understanding that that focus would then speak to all of the other ways in which Blackness is taken up. I started thinking about freedom as a child in the 80s when I wrote a poem called Freedom. I continued to think about freedom when I recorded my first album in 2001 that's called Freedom, which is about freeing the mind, dome being the mind. So 2017 was when I articulated it within an academic context and called it Black and Free. So this is where it comes from. As Trish said and shared already, I recently received a Dorothy Killam Fellow this year, or became a Dorothy Killam Fellow, and the Canada Research Chair in Race, Gender, and Performance for my work in Black Studies and the focus on Blackness and freedom. And I am a prof just over at the Modern Languages building, not too far from here, across from Ring Road, where I've been teaching Black Studies and some version of Black Studies since 2011, when I first came to the University of Waterloo as an assistant professor. I'm also a multidisciplinary artist, so I work in theater, literature, film. I'm a poet. I'm currently working on a short film. So I've been an artist for as long as I can remember. The scholarship came later, and then figuring out how to bring the two of them together in spaces that expect academic work only has been the ongoing challenge of the last 12 years, but one that I feel I've made some progress on. So Black and Free is a multi-year research creation project. It's an artistic and academic experience for engaged, curious, and casual members of the general public. Black and Free deepens, enlivens, and expresses themes of Blackness and freedom, projecting expansive visions of what that could be. So much of what anti-Blackness does is that it makes Blackness specific and small and narrow, and it takes away and strips away in violent ways the nuances of Black perspectives. As you know, there are millions and millions and millions and millions of Black people all around the world who have different religious views, whose geographies that they have been in inform their understanding of the world. I mean, the perspectives are vast, and yet the representation is often so narrow. So what Black and Free is about is expanding those ideas and bringing nuanced perspectives to the fore, not with an expectation that there is one unifying or solitary or singular way to speak about Blackness, but instead bringing as many nuanced perspectives and bringing light to as many nuanced perspectives as possible in the scope of the project. Today I will be speaking about Black and Free. I don't know if I actually said that. That's what I'll be talking about for the duration of our time together. The project is broken down into 3 streams. There's a public stream that I'll spend most of the time talking about today. That is the public-facing work of Black and Free. It is funded by an Ontario Research Fund Research Excellence Grant and includes partnerships with 8 private and public sector organizations, museums, theater company, Wilfrid Laurier University Press. So I'll speak a bit more about that public-facing work, and we've done quite a bit of that work actually earlier this year and are continuing to now. There's also a stream of Black and Free that is funded through SHIRK that is about the sites of Blackness and freedom. And so that includes national and international travel to different locations here in the country and in Europe and in Africa, where people have been and are gathering and expressing Blackness and freedom, often through some aspect of performance or some aspect of public-facing nature. So that will include later on this year, I'll be going to Halifax, Nova Scotia, where we know there's been a long-standing Black presence. In the fall, I'll be in the US at a Black tech conference, thinking about how Black people are working with tech and venture capitalism, so thinking a bit more about the economic component of things, and then travel in the years to come to Europe, and then to Ghana and to Egypt in 2025. Yeah. So that is some of the trajectory, I guess, of thinking about various sites of where that's happening and collecting and thinking through how Blackness is being expressed and how freedom is being expressed in those places, and then bringing that back to our context here in KW as well. The third stream is the art stream. Mind you, art is a recurring thread, like it is a thread through all aspects of what Black and Free is doing, as is like the scholarship as well. But from the art perspective, that is primarily through my Canada Research Chair. That's my own artistic practice, and so through that, some of the work that I'm doing is I'm right now writing actually my first short film or short video. It's one of the genres that I haven't actually explored. I've only ever been in other people's films, which has been wonderful. And actually, I can share that there's a documentary film called Trace it's called Tracing Black African-Canadian Extraordinaire, screened at the Cannes Film Festival on the weekend and has won 3 prizes. So really excited to be part of that. Yeah. And they included one of my poems in the documentary as well. So it's lovely to be there thinking about the academic side, like they're speaking about Black and Free and scholarship and Black studies, but also to have the artistic, right? Because for me, they're integrally connected. So that is a bit of what's happening in terms of thinking about the streams of Black and Free. So this is the research team that Black and Free works with. We have undergraduate research assistants from the Faculty of Arts here at the University of Waterloo. The Department of Communication Arts, where I am, we don't have a graduate program. And so my PhD research assistants come from surrounding universities. Some of them are from departments here at the University of Waterloo. Some are from York University, from Guelph University. And what that has brought has been, again, a kind of richness, a disciplinary richness to the project, because some of them have backgrounds in gender studies or in sexuality studies or are thinking about English literature. So it's actually been quite rich in the sense of having a breadth of research methodologies as well and approaches to work. So everybody's working in some degree in Black studies, but because they're coming from different departments and different institutions, it brings an additional richness and certainly additional layer of complexity organizationally, but it has been quite rich. So there are many research assistants, and also happy to share that as long as Black and Free has been around, the vast majority, I want to say over 90% of the research team has been from equity-seeking groups as well. Earlier this year, we commissioned through Black and Free 13 artists in Ontario, Black artists, emerging and established artists, to create new works on the topic of Blackness and freedom. Each person would receive a $3,000 commission. Their work was then featured at the museum, which you may be familiar with in Kitchener. We did a 6-week series in February and March, where we would do these weekly series where artists could talk about their work and talk about their process and have an audience ask questions about their process and their work. We also did what was supposed to be a 2-day exhibition at the Cancealing Waterloo Region Museum. But the response was really quite incredible and so encouraging and exciting that that exhibition was extended for an additional week. So we ended up doing a 9-day exhibition that also included a marketplace. So you'll notice that an ongoing thread for me is thinking about many layers, right? Thinking about how art connects to community, how it connects to scholarship, but also how it connects to economics as well. So there was a marketplace as part of the exhibition where Black organizations could come and share information about the community work that they're doing, and also where Black vendors could share and sell their work, and we didn't entirely for them to go back into the community, right, to circulate as they see fit. So those were some of the components. We also held in tandem with that exhibition a symposium where Black Studies scholars from the region, York University, Wilfrid Laurier, UW, so several Black Studies scholars, both emerging and established, came to the symposium, attended the art exhibition and marketplace. We met once that kind of shut down during the day. We had some sessions in the evening and then again in the morning, and what is resulting from that has been an interest in and a commitment from Wilfrid Laurier University Press to publish an anthology of some of that work. So we're thinking about the artistic, of where you have artists presenting their work and creating new work, and we have the academics who are there thinking through the work, bringing their various expertise to that work and looking to publish that in an academic context. And then of course we had the general public there, so we were interviewing all of the artists and having students or people just ask questions and learn more about artistic practices and get to speak to people. And then also in conjunction with that event, one of the partners for the project is called The Edge, and they are a community organization, grassroots community organization that works with Black children 7 to 10 years old and Black youth 16 to 19. So we had their 16 to 19-year-olds come to the exhibition from Toronto, they're based in Toronto, and attend and be a part of this as well and ask all kinds of great questions of the artists. So that gives you a sense, I guess, of some of the ways in which it's public-facing. We also have playwrights as part of the research team. One of the partners is Young People's Theater. We have 3 playwrights who, over the past, I want to say 6 or 7 months, we've been meeting periodically with the support as well of one of the research assistants from the project, to think about plays that could be written for young audiences on the topic of Blackness and freedom. Like, how do we make this complex, rich topic be something that children in school boards can see, and that can be a main stage production at Young People's Theater, where people could go and see and bring their families and their children and engage in this topic, right? So I'm thinking always about multiple demographics of people in terms of who this work is serving and how to mobilize these resources in those ways. We have artist educators on the project too. We actually now have 4. With Young People's Theater, we ran a 5-week course earlier this year on Black theater in Ontario, thinking specifically about how Black playwrights are taking up the topic of freedom in their work and working with grade 7 and 8 students to get into theater, think about theater, think about how this work is being taken up in the plays, staging excerpts of the scenes of the plays, inviting their parents to be there and to join and to do some of the activities and theater games with their children, which many of them were like, we've never done this before. And thinking again about how we can use this theme and the skill set of artist educators and leveraging these partnerships to bring various publics into conversation. There's a designer as well who's done all of the graphics for Black and Free. We also have another designer, so that should be 2 now. It's growing. The project is growing. So I make the slides, and then, something else happens. So it's grown a bit more. But we now have another designer who is working with one of our partners, Studio Otherness, based in Netherlands, to create a typeface that is specifically comes out of Blackness and freedom, so that the font itself will be a reflection on what it means to be Black and free and will be informed by that. So we've been having conversations over the course of we're at month 7 now, where we check in periodically. So Tafui has done, this is the designer, we've been talking about textiles and thinking about how do you translate that into the letter A and the letter Z, right, and to the number 4, like what does that mean? And so the goal of this typeface is that eventually it will be something that will be free to the public, so that anyone could download their Black and Free typeface, just as you would use Helvetica or Arial or whatever else you would use, that you could write whatever you're writing in the Black and Free typeface. We have a consultant, a history consultant, Black history consultant, who's actually also our AVP here at UW of Human Rights, Equity, and Inclusion Office. That's Dr. Christopher Taylor, who has been our consultant working with the videographer and creative director, Ola Idris Ali, here on campus, to interview Black people in the region of various demographics in KW. That project is wrapping up now, and that will become part of the permanent collection at the Ken Sealing Waterloo Region Museum. So with these interviews with people just talking about their experiences of what it means to be Black here in KW. And so excited to see that be part of a permanent collection at the local museum, so that we, again, it's that notion of a variety of voices, right? That it's not a singular perspective, that there are many ways into this topic and many experiences, and it's not just those of us who figured out how to kind of get some kind of media attention or express ourselves in public spaces whose stories get told. That it can also be people who normally wouldn't be featured in any kind of way, whose work and ideas and perspectives can also be shared. We certainly have a project coordinator who is unfortunately very part-time, but these are the constraints of grants, and so we work with what we have and have a fantastic project coordinator, and then Ken Sealing actually also hired a project coordinator to support the scope of work that we've been doing with them. Here's a list of all of the project partners. I've mentioned, so Citizen Brand is a branding company, a private sector organization or business that has offered us much assistance in being able to articulate like what Black and Free is in a way that can be consumed, I guess, using all of the techniques and skills of branding that I certainly don't have, so that's been quite wonderful to have as a partner. The museum has been wonderful. We'll be doing more events with them next year and the year after. Wilfrid Laurier University Press has committed to publishing 2 books out of this project. The Edge is the community organization that I mentioned. Actually, we'll be hosting them here on campus tomorrow. They'll be bringing their 16 to 19-year-old participants here to think about what it means to be a university student, right? So many of post-secondary spaces are often unwelcoming and can feel complex and difficult for Black students to navigate. So part of what the Edge has been doing for a long time has been bringing their participants annually to different colleges or post-secondary institutions and doing retreats there. So for Black and Free, we've invited them and are helping to bring them here and are organizing programming. So they'll be doing a tour and meeting with different offices and learning about the supports that are available on campus if they decide to come to UW. But of course, anywhere they go, right, that they can know that institutions should have resources that they can hopefully access and learn to access. Ken Sealing Waterloo Region Museum, I spoke of. Studio Otherness in the Netherlands, I did as well. Nor is the Design Commons for Canada. We are and have been, some of the undergraduate research assistants have been writing articles. They've written 4 so far about Black designers, Black landscape architects in Ontario. Like, I didn't know. Who knew? The people knew, but I didn't know. So, and I think a lot of us didn't know. So they've been doing research on various kinds of design and design work that's happening in the province, and we will be publishing that on NOR's website. And then Young People's Theatre has been is a partner as well that I spoke a bit about. Here are the central themes of Black and Free. I wanted the themes to be clear, just for myself as well. And so I think about how they're performed in Black expressive culture, which is an expansive term meant to hold everything from music to film to blog posts to stand-up comedy, like the many, many ways in which Black people express ourselves. I think about how it's imagined and reflected in different types of Black expressive culture, which in part is what the site stream of Black and Free is doing, and thinking in a national and international scope. And then lastly, I'm thinking about what the material conditions are that make these things possible. How does this come to be? How are they funded? Who are the community organizations that bring these things together? How are publics drawn to these topics? How are artists engaged? These are the kinds of questions that, or the themes that Black and Free continues to think through. We have some sub-projects, or 5 sub-projects, many of which I've already spoken about. It's an ongoing project with funding through to 2027, so we will be continuing to do things annually. It wasn't just this year, it will be next year, and the year after, and the year after. So the funding is secured through to 2027, so there are more things coming from Black and Free in the years to come. This is a list of some of what we've done over the since January. It's been a busy 5 months, but this is what we've been doing since January. Some of the things that are underway, many of which I've discussed. These are the events and the artists that we featured at the museum, where we started a new series called Black and Free New Art. I'll move through these a bit quickly. And then these are the artists that we featured at the Kenseling Waterloo Region Museum. And there were a range of styles and art as well, so that was quite exciting too. And then I just would say that it's a labor of love and that this project is labor intensive. It does certainly reach back to my own childhood, to that poem of imagining freedom, and what that could look like for me and for people. And when I just have very visceral memories of growing up and wondering about freedom, and working through the discrepancy between what I understood of Blackness and the ways in which it was presented both at school and in broader society. So it's been a long time coming, is what I'd say. And then lastly, I would share this. And these are our social media handles. I encourage you or invite you to check us out on Black and Free. I've made the presentation on Canva, and I'm seeing on PowerPoint that some things have moved around, so I apologize for that. But the Instagram one should be Black and Free _ is where you'll find us, and where we are posting much of what we are doing and featuring the design assets of Ashley Tomlinson, who did the Black and Free design. And so that is Black and Free. In a nutshell, that is the public stream mostly of Black and Free, and that's a bit about me. So thank you very much for your time today. I would be remiss if I didn't end in song, largely, and call and response in particular, because so much of Black culture in many parts of the world has been deeply rooted in this call and response. So we're going to end as well with call and response, and the words are Black and Free, shocking. And so I would say, as I always say, that you don't have to identify as Black or be Black to sing these words. You just need to think that we're at a moment in our history where there is use and value in a collective voice calling for this together. So, Black and free, 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 Black and free. Thank you. You'll be on my next album if you keep this up. Thank you so much.
I said to Kalita, how do I thank you for that? How do I thank you? I say, so nice. So many thoughts running through my head as I heard you. I channeled Chimamanda Adichie Ngozi and the danger of a single story. We do not live our experiences in stereotypes. We live depth. We have depth to our story. All stories have depth. I think about Wendy's words about digging in the soil. We have to go deeper. We have to find meaning deeper in the soil, deeper in ourselves, deeper in all people. I heard your words. And I hear you say how to express, how to engage, how to get others to engage. Whose stories get told? We tell our stories with depth. We tell our stories through art, song, dance, poetry, film, comedy, music. We have to work within the constraints, but we have to break the constraints. We create space, navigate, be free, Black and free. It's a labor of love, it's a labor of intensity. Naila has given us call. How are we going to respond? Thank you so much. Gratitude.
So Naila will join us for lunch. I'm very happy. So there will be an opportunity for you to talk a little bit more about the work that Naila has shared with us. Before we head over for lunch, I want to make special mention of some of the main architects of the Masters of Social Work program. Dr. Ellen Sue Mesber has a vision, did have a vision, and put everything in place for the advanced standing MSW program with its unique focus on health and its national reach as an online program. Thank you, Ellen Sue, for your vision, for your incredible commitment to that vision, and all the work and planning that was needed for that vision to come to be. You had a team, and the two team members that we'd also like to acknowledge are Dr. Peter Donahue and Marion Reed. You all worked tirelessly to bring this program to fruition. Your commitment to the vision and also to the School of Social Work continues to be our foundation today. Thank you. We wanted to offer you gratitude in a way that could represent what you've put in place, and also the continued growth that we're focusing on with our MSW 10 Growing Community Anniversary events. We offer you see some pots over there. These are magnolia seedlings with the orange ribbon. Can you see them? So we offer those to you to mark your contributions to our community and also to represent the growth and possibilities that are your journeys. Thank you.